So even people in all different parts of the world, people in different parts of the world have been affected and have been infected. So what about the people who actually live over there, live their whole lives over there, in that completely contained and insulated, controlled environment, subjected for generation after generation to myths and propaganda and fairy tale versions of history, subjected to simplification, manipulation, self-justification, rationalization, indoctrination, and stupefaction. Literally, generation after generation. Your grandfather was born and raised and lived his whole life. Your father was born and raised and lived his whole life. And you were born and raised, and if you don't do something about it, you're going to live your whole life basically at the bottom. You can think about it this way, at the bottom of a very deep and a very narrow well, a pit, a hole in the ground. And you only see from inside that pit. That's all you know of this world. You never saw the land. You understand? You never saw the trees, the mountains, the rivers, the sea, or anything. But the last generation that lived and died down there, they told you that this is all there is. So you now have a very skewed perspective. You have a very skewed version of reality. How could you not? How's a human being supposed to develop like that, in a situation like that? No, I'm not talking metaphorically. Understand me. I'm not talking metaphorically. When I say indoctrination and I say brainwashing, that is exactly what I mean. I'm not speaking metaphorically. I'm not trying to be dramatic or hyperbolic. I mean that a deliberate and a sustained process has been applied to the population of the United States of America over generations, using every single institution available to produce human beings who cannot think outside of a pre-approved set of conclusions. Human beings who do not think like most of the people in the world think. You understand me? Who don't behave like most of the people in the world behave. And whose view of the world has almost nothing whatsoever to do with how this world really is. I mean, what is indoctrination? What is indoctrination actually? It's not just when someone lies to you. You know, someone lies to you and maybe you even know that they're lying. That's just lying. You can deal with that. You can deal with that. No, indoctrination is when someone gives you a false picture of reality and you accept it as reality itself. Not as a perspective or an opinion about reality, as the actual thing, as actual reality. You think that you're looking at the world and you're actually looking at the walls of that narrow pit that you're in. And you think it's the horizon. You understand me? The reason that America is so effective, why this is so effective in America, specifically in America, is because they have more resources, more technology, more reach, and they have more incentive to do this than any other society in human history. It's essential to their whole project. I mean, just look at the machine that's got you trapped. Look at the machine that's got you trapped. The machine that has had your brain, has had your heart, has had your mind trapped your whole life, tightly trapped your whole life. Your life, and like I say, the lives of all of your predecessors. They've had you in a vice grip. I'm telling you, you're just like a lab rat in that country. Yes, just like a lab rat. And they've been running an intergenerational experiment on you, injecting your mind with hallucinatory drugs, mind-altering narcotics, shrinking your cognitive functions little by little by little. Again, generation after generation, watching how you mutate, studying how badly they can deform you, studying how much of your humanity they can graft off of you, how much of your soul they can deflate before you become completely inert. You know how Jeffrey Dahmer, he tried to inject chemicals into the brains of some of his victims because he wanted to see if he could turn them into automatons, turn them into zombie sex slaves. Well, Uncle Sam has been doing that to you. Uncle Sam has been doing that to you. That's right. You're not a population, you're a science project. You're not a nation, you're a psychological experiment to see how much you can take and still be human. I told you that the way you are itself is evidence of what has been done to you. And it has been done systematically. I mean, who owns the information that you receive? Think about that. You know, you go to your phone, you go to your television, you go to your radio, you go to your newspaper, you go online. Where's that information coming from? What's the source of that information? Did you know that it's just 6 companies? 6 companies. In 1983, it was 50 companies. 50 companies controlled most of American media. And that 50 companies, that's already a ludicrously small number. But by the time you got into the 2020s, that number was down to 6, only 6. 6 corporations control about 90% of what 300 million people watch, what they read, what they hear, and what they think about, and what they talk to each other about. 6 corporations, and each one of those corporations is owned by people who have very specific interests. And those interests are not your interests. And those interests determine what you see and what you don't see.